Good afternoon and welcome to today's mission status briefing. It is flight day 10 with the STS-133 crew. And with me this afternoon is Royce Renfrew, and he is the lead flight director for the International Space Station. Welcome, Renfrew, and let's begin today with a little bit of an update and then we'll take some questions.
Okay, thank you very much. I told you all yesterday that we had three major activities we were going to try to accomplish today, and I'm happy to report that we got all three of those activities almost entirely complete. I'm very excited to have completed all of those activities today. The first one I want to talk about is the oxygen generation rack that Commander Kelly was working on today. We went in and put a filter into that system. As I told you, we wanted to put some chemicals into the OGA and put a little screen in there to filter out some particulates. We got Commander Kelly in there. He did that work for us this morning, and then we spent some time commanding it from the ground. Got a little bit behind the timeline there because we had to tweak a few of the parameters for a couple of hours to get it to behave exactly like we wanted it to, so that remediation kit that we installed functioned as we wanted it to. We eventually got that going a little bit late in the timeline and did the activities that we wanted there, and then turned Mr. Kelly on again to go in and remove some of that equipment. Some of it is still installed. And then this afternoon when I left console, we were actually doing one last test on it. So we still have about an hour's worth of ops on the ISS commander's activities tomorrow to go back in and strip out all of that temporary remediation kit that we installed today. So we'll take care of that on flight day 11. We also took a couple of samples, some water samples to bring home on Discovery so we can analyze that back on the ground, and then I hope to get the OGA back up and running in the increment as soon as we've done the analysis on those samples when they get back on the ground. So 95% done there with maybe an hour's worth of work on the commander's timeline tomorrow. The second major activity that we did today with Mike Barrett and Paolo Nespali, working on the lab carbon dioxide removal assembly. Dr. Barrett took one of the front beds out of that seizure that had a short in it. That shorted out during EVA-1, and we decided to go ahead and do the in-flight maintenance on that today, particularly because Mike Barrett had done that previously during his increment, exactly the same signature. We needed him to do exactly the same thing. So he took that bed out of the seizure, and then you got to see over his shoulder a lot today while he was working on those very, very small wires with multimeter, testing a bunch of wires for us until we found where exactly the short was. And it was somewhat humorous to watch medical Dr. Barrett with a pair of forceps in his hand reach in and get those small wires out and clip them. We put all that back together. Mike did another great job on that. We put that back in the lab carbon dioxide removal assembly in the air revitalization system rack, or the ARS rack, this evening, and spun that up, and I actually had a text message from the engineering folks not too long ago that said that seizure is now back up and running, so it's happy and healthy, and Mike Barrett's work on that worked perfectly today. Then the third major activity that we did today with the remainder of the crew was to finish our PMM outfitting activities to get rid of all the launch equipment that was in there, all the stuff that we needed to make sure that nothing got rattled loose while Discovery lifted off the pad and went through about 3 Gs going uphill. Once we get it into 0 G, we no longer need all that hardware. So we spent a lot of time with a bunch of crew members today going in and removing that launch hardware, transferring some of those platforms that we no longer need on orbit, the integrated stowage platforms, and a bunch of launch hardware over to the HTV transfer vehicle. And we had a camera pointed in there as well today, so you could actually see the crew transfer stuff out of the PMM into the HTV. We also spent some time, as I told you yesterday, getting some additional stuff out of the HTV. So we got the food out of there today that came uphill and moved that into ISS. And all in all, just a great day. So I'm ready to declare that the PMM is essentially ready for business as a module on board ISS at this moment. We still have maybe a launch restraint bolt or two that we need to go in and turn, but it's really ready to go as a permanent attachment to the International Space Station. We'll start using that module as it was designed to use. So all in all, just a great day on orbit. The additional +1 day that we wound up with the docked mission here was very well used in getting the ISS in the absolute best config we can be in for Discovery's undock. So then tomorrow, a couple of different things are going to go on. We're going to get the hatches closed about 2:30 in the afternoon Central Time. We'll also have the management teams for both the shuttle and the International Space Station tomorrow have their discussion and give their go-no-go for the undocking. And then the undocking is actually going to occur Monday morning at 6 a.m. Central Time. Discovery will undock from ISS for a landing on Wednesday at 10:58 Central is the first opportunity at Kennedy. And with that, I turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Renfrew. We're going to take some questions here from our reporters, and then we do also have 2 reporters on our phone line. So we're going to begin first with questions from the audience. Any questions? Denise Chow.
Denise Chow at space.com. There's some cargo transfer that's scheduled for tomorrow morning. Is that also work on the PMM and the HTV, or what's going to go on there?
What we need to do tomorrow morning is get the late stow activities done. There are some time-sensitive payloads on board the ISS that we need to get transferred over to Discovery, and we want to do those as late as we possibly can so that we get them on the ground in good shape so we can get them out of Discovery. So we hold on to those until the very, very last opportunity to transfer those between the 2 vehicles, and then we'll get them back on the ground for that time-sensitive payloads. And there are a couple other odds and ends that we need to get thrown across the hatch there, but essentially the majority of the transfer ops is done.
And do you know if there's anything special planned during the farewell ceremony for to commemorate Discovery's last flight?
You know, the Commander Lindsey is going to do a tribute, I believe, is in the undock timeline here, where they're going to have some activities related to Discovery's last flight on their free flight day after they undock. And I'm sure that both Commander Lindsey and Commander Kelly will have something special for the activities tomorrow, although I'm not familiar with exactly what they plan for the last day of Discovery dock to the ISS.
Mr. Perlman.
Hi, Robert Perlman with CollectSpace.com. Can you just remind me what the advantage is of having the crew shut the hatches the day before undocking rather than doing it all on the same day? Is it mostly for the shuttle crew's benefit, or is there an ISS benefit as well?
It's really for the shuttle crew because they have a really busy day after they undock. They're going to do the fly around. They're going to get into all their preps for landing. So one of the advantages is get the hatches closed the night before, which is a relatively extensive operation for both crews, is to get that done and then let the crew get a good night's sleep and then wake up in the morning and then first thing punch off so the orbiter crew can then spend the rest of the day. So they don't have to get up in the morning and then shut the hatches, and that just extends the day.
And can you just address a little bit what the ISS crew's activities will be after undocking? How much recovery, so to speak, do they need after a shuttle leaves to get back to normal operations?
We have some activities that we need to perform on board ISS. It's not an extensive list, but we need to put all of our equipment away that we have out for a docked mission. Some of the ventilation lines that we have scattered out, and we get the pressurized mating adapter depressed after the orbiter undocks, and a few other odds and ends. But there's not an extensive amount of work that the station crew needs to do after the orbiter undocks. So they'll get a well-deserved little bit of time off there after Discovery leaves the stack.
Are there any other questions here? Well, then we'll go to our phone line. We'll start with Mark Carreau.
Oh, thank you, Mark Carreau for Aviation Week. If you know, could you tell us what some of the late stow items are? Are they like medical specimens or other experiments?
Excuse me, that's correct. The payload science really, that some of it, like I said, is time sensitive, so we're going to take it out of our minus 80 degree Fahrenheit, or minus 80 degree, the Melfi freezer, I can't remember the acronym stands for, the really cold freezer on board ISS, and we're going to put those in the glaciers in Discovery's mid-deck to bring them home. So, like I said, we want to do that at the very end of the transfer day, so those time-sensitive payloads can be taken out once we get Discovery back on the tarmac at KSC.
Thank you.
And now we'll go to James Dean.
Thank you very much, James Dean from Florida today. And Royce, I just wondered if during the farewell ceremony tomorrow, to what extent you'll be reflecting on the fact that it's one of the last few times we'll see a shuttle crew saying goodbye and closing the hatch, and of course the last for Discovery.
Personally, this is I've been working on this mission for almost 2 years now. This has been a wonderful experience for me to go do this as a lead station flight director for Discovery's last mission. It'll be, I think the term that a lot of folks have been using is bittersweet, because I will be and am currently ecstatic about the way that this mission has gone. We've planned it and we've planned it and we've planned it, and just to actually see Discovery come off the pad and have an opportunity to actually go execute the mission and to see it fall out as flawlessly as it has done is just a wonderful feeling for a flight director, to look at all the hard work that we've done and handle all the curveballs that the vehicle has thrown at us, or throughout the mission with the various failures that we've had during the docked ops, and be able to take those in stride and actually to execute the mission as designed is just glorious. And on the flip side of that, obviously, it is absolutely true that this is the last time Discovery will be at ISS. This is the last one of the last shuttle missions we'll ever do to ISS. So that has some bittersweet components to it. But really, I think I'm just very happy with the way the mission has gone, the way the ground teams have executed, the way the crew has executed. I couldn't be happier. So it's gonna be difficult for me not to feel happy, even though I understand this is the last time Discovery is going to be there.
Thanks very much.
Are there any other questions? We will wrap up this evening's briefing. Just a couple of updates. The next mission status briefing will be tomorrow. That's Sunday, March 6th at 12:30 p.m. And then there will, of course, be over the evening hours and the very early morning hours at 12:45 a.m. Central Time, the ISS Flight Director Update. For continuing coverage of the final mission of Discovery, be sure to stay tuned to NASA TV. For more information about NASA and its programs, be sure to check out www.nasa.gov. Thank you and good evening.